another episode of MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss. Today we have issue number 6 for you, featuring Robin, and this particular Robin happens to be the Tim Drake Robin, who was the Robin that was current at the time of this publishing. Of course, now it is Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son, with Talia al Ghul. It does focus, though, this issue on Timothy Drake strictly. It does talk a little bit about Dick Grayson, the original Robin. It also touches on Jason Todd, the Robin that was famously killed by the Joker, as well as the Stephanie Brown Robin, which many people may not know about. But it mostly deals with Tim Drake, which is fine by me. As usual, we will go over the magazine, followed by a quick review of the figure, and let's get going, ladies and gentlemen. This is the review of DC Comics Superhero Collection, issue number 6, Robin. So who exactly is Tim Drake? Well, Tim Drake is the third character in the DC Universe to call himself Robin and serve as Batman's sidekick. And in the DC Universe, he was nothing more than a super fan of Batman and Robin's, following their exploits from when he was just a child, and as he grew older, he started to figure out that Dick Grayson is Robin, and therefore Batman must be Bruce Wayne. After the death of the second Robin, Jason Todd, at the hands of the Joker, Tim started to notice Batman's demeanor getting more and more severe. He became more withdrawn and dark and violent. He decided Batman needed to have a Robin and took it upon himself to confront Bruce with the fact that he knew who he was. He knew that Bruce Wayne and Batman were the same, and found Alfred Pennyworth instead. Batman began to reluctantly train him, making no promises, however, that he would become Robin. He was still very gun-shy after, of course, the death of Jason Todd. But eventually, Tim won him over, proved himself to the Batman, and with the help of Alfred, actually got a brand new costume. It was the first time the Robin costume had been redesigned in decades. Robin also went on solo adventures without Batman, even getting his own title in the DC Universe for a while. Tim is unique also because, unlike the previous Robins, he wasn't really an orphan. His mother was dead and gone, but his father was still very much alive and did not know about his dual identity as Robin. We also learn about one of Robin's allies, the hero known as Spoiler. She's actually the daughter of one of the DCU's villains, and she became one of Robin's romantic interests. Much the same way that Dick Grayson as Robin helped found the Teen Titans, Tim Drake as Robin helped form a new teenage super team that called themselves Young Justice. The next couple pages deal with a little bit of a darker time in Tim's life. First, it talks about how Tim's father found out that he was secretly Robin and forced him into retirement, which then saw Batman recruiting the Spoiler, Stephanie Brown, as the first ever female Robin within regular DC continuity. Unfortunately, Stephanie was a bit reckless and rebellious, and there was a huge gang war going on, and she saw herself getting killed in a big gang war that went down. Batman was too late to save her, so this marked the second time that there was a Robin killed on Batman's watch. Soon after this happened, Tim's father was murdered by DC supervillain Captain Boomerang. After this tragedy, Batman actually offered to adopt Tim and make him legally his son. Tim politely declined the offer because he really wasn't sure what he wanted to do, but he did return to active duty as Robin and was actually approached by former Teen Titan member Cyborg, who was putting together yet another team of young superheroes, this time calling themselves the Titans. Unfortunately, tragedy followed Tim as Superboy was killed in action shortly thereafter by an evil alternate universe version of himself called Superboy Prime. When Tim rose above it all, he formed yet another team of superheroes with Cyborg, calling themselves the Teen Titans yet again, and continued to fight the good fight. He eventually found himself training under the most unlikely of mentors as well, Ra's al Ghul, who is one of Batman's oldest nemeses. Eventually, though, he did return to Batman's side and continues to fight alongside him today. Robin, like his mentor Batman, gets 3 classic stories to choose from this time. Robin the Hero Reborn is the trade paperback that collects all the issues of the Batman comic books that introduced Tim Drake and how he became the new Robin. It features his training period, and even when he first set out on a solo mission as the new Robin, honing his skills on the streets of Gotham. Story, while not strictly a Robin story, is called Identity Crisis, and it was a DC Universe-wide event that told the story of some of the villains in the DC Universe learned the secret identity of some of DC's heroes and actually started killing their loved ones. This was the story that saw Timothy Drake's father being murdered at the hands of DC villain Captain Boomerang. Finally, in a Teen Titans issue known as Titans Tomorrow, we see the Teen Titans traveling into the future accidentally, a possible future, where they find the world is not what they expected it to be, and that they are now known as the Titans, and sort of rule the world with an iron fist. Tim is especially affected because he meets himself a dark, brooding, almost evil version of Batman. Upon their return to the present, Tim swears to never become the Batman, and the Titans are very conscious to not overstep their bounds as heroes. In Tim Drake's Allies and Enemies section, we find predominantly his allies. The only enemies it features are the future version of himself, seen in that Teen Titans story, Deathstroke, and Scarecrow. Robin's iconography section is very much like Batman's in that it features a lot of his gadgets and gizmos. It talks about his bow staff, his utility belt, the different incarnations of his throwing stars, and his vehicles, the Redbird and his own personal motorcycle. The final section in Robin's magazine deals with all of the other incarnations, basically, of the Robin, starting with Dick Grayson, the original Robin, moving on to Jason Todd, also called the Tragic Robin, and finally on to Stephanie Brown, who was the temporary Robin, who returned, actually, to become the new Batgirl later on. There's also a nice little section in the top corner of this page that deals with some of the variant Robins from other Earths and potential futures of the Batman. Here he is, Robin. I love this figure. This is fantastic. It's Tim Drake, who also happens to be my favorite Robin. I like Dick Grayson as well, but I really like the Tim Drake incarnation. I love that they redesigned the costume more than once. This, of course, was his last incarnation of the costume, which I love. They totally eliminated the green, which always kind of bothered me. It always made him stand out a little bit too much. They darkened the yellow a little bit, and they just made it look a little bit more reminiscent of Batman's costume, which I think is perfect, since he is, you know, Batman's sidekick, his trainee, sort of. So I love this costume. I love this color scheme. The details on the figure, of course, as usual, are great. The bow staff is actually a separate removable piece. He actually holds it pretty snugly. But it is removable, and it has not chipped or anything yet. It's retaining its color, which is great. And you can actually pose him without the staff. He looks pretty good. He just looks like he's in some sort of fighting stance. So if you prefer to keep the staff safely tucked away, I don't blame you, because I have heard a lot of reports of this thing coming broken in the packaging, or of people actually breaking it trying to get it out. So if you are one of those people who wants to keep it safe and in the package, he looks just as good posing without it. A few more pictures to come, but a great figure overall. Really, really love this one. Today's Robin stands atop the molded DC logo on the base, and on the bottom side we have his name along with his serial number. And for the heck of it, I took a couple shots here with him standing next to his mentor, the Batman, and I love it because you can actually see the similarities between the costumes, which is as it should be. I'm sure I sound like a broken record at this point, but really, it's another great figure in the Eaglemoss line so far. The attention to detail is fantastic, down to his symbol on his chest, right down to the buttons on his utility belt, which, like Batman's, are this nice gold metallic paint instead of the yellow that the rest of the utility belt is made out of, the little pockets on his belt. And his buckle is also that nice gold. The good, once again, the attention to detail, the paint scheme, the pose, usual. It's par for the course for Eaglemoss at this point. The bad, nothing to report on my figure. I have heard of some really nasty masks painted on the face with, like, off-center eyes and stuff. Also, the staff is kind of fragile. It can be bent or broken very easily. I have heard of it coming broken in the package and of people breaking it, taking it out, as I said before. The ugly, there's nothing ugly about this figure. It's great. It's Robin. I love the costume. Some people aren't a fan. I dig this version. I am not a fan of the Damian Wayne version, so I'm very pleased to have Tim. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Looking forward to the next issue. It's one that I don't think you guys see coming. And no, it's still not Wonder Woman. Thanks again. Hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.